Teacher talking sports, what it does, what it do, how we live. And we're officially at the All-Star break of the MLB season. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at the most disappointing player on all 30 MLB teams. Now, let me state that disappointing does not mean the same as worst. It's pretty much expectations going into the season to productions thus far. And I'm not including guys who are disappointing because of injuries. So, of course, it's disappointing that Jacob deGrom, Fernando Tatis Jr. have not played this season due to injuries. But I'm only looking at how the player performed on the field if they were disappointing. But injuries can play, if guys who are injured can be included. So, let's say they struggled mightily through their 20, 30, 40 games. Whatever they've played while healthy, they can be included. So let's get into it. I'll name them in alphabetical order by city, starting with the Arizona Diamondbacks catcher Carson Kelly, seen as the centerpiece in the deal that sent Paul Goldschmidt to the Cardinals. Kelly had a nice 105 OPS plus last season, but this season has been a major disappointment, batting just 194 in 134 at-bats with a low OPS of just 564, 236 on base percentage. Hasn't been a very good season. For the Atlanta Braves, Eddie Rosario was a key addition to their World Series championship team last season. He has dealt with injury, played in just 27 games this season, but he is just 11 for 85 on the year, a 129 batting average, 174 on base percentage, 224 slugging for a 9 OPS plus on the year. For the Baltimore Orioles, there really wasn't any clear candidates because they're expected to be really bad, and they're a 500 team at the break. I'll go Robinson Chirinos. He's batting just 162 on the year with 2 homers. He's no longer the everyday catcher, though, and at the age of 38, I mean, how much was really expected of him? For the Boston Red Sox, Trevor Story has had a couple incredible games this season, but otherwise hasn't produced as expected for the Red Sox after they signed him to a 6-year, $140 million deal, batting just 221 with a 289 on base percentage. A nearly 4-to-1 strikeout to walk ratio, striking out in more than 1/3 of his at-bats on the season. He's got some decent counting numbers, but overall hasn't been the offensive threat consistently that the Red Sox had hoped for. The Chicago Cubs, we got Nick Madrigal, a 300 hitter in each of his first 2 seasons, albeit in just 83 total games combined in the 2 years. Madrigal is hitting just 222 this year in his 108 at-bats, and he provides no power whatsoever, just 3 extra base hits, all doubles, giving him a slugging percentage of 250 on the year. The Chicago White Sox, there were a few candidates, Yohan Moncada, Lance Lynn. I went Yasmani Grandal, the 2-time All-Star, is batting 185 on the year. He's always been a high on base percentage guy. It's just 294 this season. But his slugging percentage, he is slugging 237 on the year. Just 3 doubles and 2 homers in 173 at-bats. Cincinnati Reds, I'll go former NL MVP Joey Votto, another guy with an advanced age, and the Reds weren't expected to do much this season, but he had a bit of a renaissance of a season last year, hitting 36 homers. This year has just 6 while batting just 216, not walking at the rate he normally does, striking out a little more. Joey Votto beginning to show his age. Let's see if he can boost up his play in the second half of the season. For the Cleveland Guardians, we got Aaron Savale, also considered Framil Reyes. But Savale was a solid pitcher for his first 3 seasons in the big leagues, throwing to a 3.76 ERA and 43 starts. This season, 12 starts, 6.17 ERA. Ouch, 1.46 whip, giving up 10.7 hits per 9 innings. Hasn't been good for the Guardians. Colorado Rockies, German Marquez. Yes, it's always a struggle to pitch at Coors Field, but this has been a career worst season for the just 27-year-old, as he has a 5.47 ERA in 18 starts, a 1.44 whip on the season, giving up well over a hit per inning. For the Detroit Tigers, who else could it be but Javier Baez, signed to a 6-year, $140 million deal this offseason. Baez is struggling. 213 batting average, just a 626 OPS, just 9 homers on the year. Always has struggled with the walks, just 14 in 319 plate appearances. Not really earning his contract in the first year. For the Houston Astros, another advanced age guy, Yuli Gurriel, 38 years old, but it was just last season that Gurriel led the American League with a 319 batting average. That has dropped 81 points thus far this year to 238, just a 680 OPS. He's hitting a lot of doubles, 25, but sub 300 on base percentage for the season. Kansas City Royals, Whit Merrifield. Merrifield, the 33-year-old, seen as one of the best Royals players throughout the past few years, made the All-Star team last year. This season, batting a career low 240, career low 292 on base percentage, career low 343 slugging. Still stealing bases, 14 to just 2 caught stealings, but a guy who possibly could get traded at the trade deadline. Not exactly allowing him to get the Royals a huge haul with the season he is having. For the Angels, he's been pretty much the biggest disappointment since joining the team in 2020. That is Anthony Rendon. His season is over due to a wrist injury. In his 45 games this season, Rendon batted just 228 with a 707 OPS, 5 homers, and 162 at-bats. Through 3 years of a $245 million deal for 7 years, definitely hasn't panned out for the Angels. For the Los Angeles Dodgers, I will go Max Muncy. Thought Cody Bellinger, but he at least provides a lot of defensive value. Muncy is batting a wildly low 160 on the season and just slugging 315. He's walking aplenty, giving him a decent 316 on base percentage, but just 17 extra base hits in his 238 at-bats. For the Mets, we got Dominic Smith, the guy who hasn't been able to find regular playing time since a stellar 2020 abbreviated season. This season, he was actually sent to the minors for a little bit. In his 58 games, batting under the Mendoza line at 194 with just a 284 slugging percentage, 0 homers in 134 at-bats. For the Yankees, who else could it be but Joey Gallo? Joey Gallo has been a disaster for the Yankees this season, albeit it hasn't hurt him much. Still the best record in baseball, but 98 strikeouts and 219 at-bats. A guy who has so much pop in his bat, but just has 11 homers on the season with just 4 doubles. Batting 164 on the year with a 630 OPS. For the Oakland Athletics, another team that was expected to not do good at all, so not many disappointing players, but I'm going to go Lou Trevino. Trevino was at least a very solid relief pitcher for the Athletics during his time from 2018 to 21. This season hasn't been the case. 6.59 ERA in his 27 and a third innings, giving up 40 hits, so 13.2 hits per 9 innings for a 1.94 whip when accounting his 13 walks. Philadelphia Phillies, another big free agent signing who hasn't panned out yet. That is Nick Castellanos, signed to a 5-year, $100 million deal. He's never going to provide much defensive value. He's been playing right field a lot this season, but expected to provide a lot of pop with the bat. 34 homers last season. Thus far, he has just 8. 251 average, sub 300 on base percentage at 297. For the Pittsburgh Pirates, another team not expected to do good, I'll go with Yoshi Tsutsugo. He was given a 1-year, $4 million deal, re-signing with the team, and he has not done well at all. After joining the Pirates last season, he had an 883 OPS in his 144 plate appearances. This year, in 170 plate appearances, that has dipped to a 510 OPS, just 6 extra base hits and 147 at-bats. San Diego Padres, let's go with Trent Grisham, the 25-year-old, also batting under the Mendoza line at 190 with a low 622 OPS, just a 330 slugging. Not providing as much defensive value as well. Won a Gold Glove in center in 2020. The defensive metrics aren't as high on him this season. Believe it or not, Brandon Crawford finished fourth in NL MVP voting last year in what was a kind of a breakout season at the age of 34. I mean, it was his third All-Star appearance, but probably was his best season. This year, really struggling in his 247 at-bats, batting .215 with just 5 homers, hit 24 last year, a lot less doubles. His slugging percentage is 190 points less than it was in 2021. Seattle Mariners, they've won 14 in a row. What can go wrong? Well, Adam Frazier hasn't necessarily panned out. They traded for him from the Padres. Last season, he batted .305 on the year. Excellent contact hitter. Won't provide much power, but did hit 36 doubles last year. This season for Seattle, .237 average and just a .297 on base percentage. A very low .311 slugging, so not providing much offensive value at all. St. Louis Cardinals, Tyler O'Neill. O'Neill was 8th in NL MVP voting last season in what was an excellent season for him. He's won 2 straight Gold Gloves, but much like Grisham, the defensive metrics aren't as fond of him this season, the left fielder, and he's also struggled at the plate. .239 average, .298 on base percentage. His OPS is 262 points less than it was last season. He had 34 homers last season. He has 4 in just 176 at-bats this season. Tampa Bay Rays, Mike Zunino was a first-time All-Star last year with the Rays as he hit 33 homers. This year, he's missed a lot of the season, but he did play in 36 games in that time. He's never been a high batting average hitter, but this is kind of, unacceptable. 148 batting average, 195 on base percentage, 6 walks to 46 strikeouts, 5 homers, 3 doubles, and 115 at-bats. Texas Rangers, I'm going to go Marcus Semien. I know he's been playing better of late, but if you take the totality of his season, it hasn't really panned out. He has a .239 average with a .697 OPS, 13 homers, pales in comparison to the 45 he hit last year. Again, he's been showing much improvement, but his OPS plus of 98 still puts him below average. Toronto Blue Jays, Jose Berrios signed a large 7-year, $131 million extension heading into this season. Hasn't been a good one for Berrios, as he has a 5.22 ERA in his 19 starts, giving up 114 hits in 101 2/3 innings. Leads the AL most earned runs, 59, and home runs allowed, 20 home runs allowed in 101 2/3 innings. And Patrick Corbin with the Washington Nationals, and I realize I skipped the Brewers, I'll get to him. The Nationals, Corbin, 2 straight struggling seasons. It's always hoped that he could revert back to the 2019 pitcher that helped the Nationals win this World Series. Again, 4-12 this year, 5.87 ERA, giving up 134 hits in just 99 2/3 innings. Leads the majors with his 65 earned runs allowed. And I did skip the Brewers. I'm going to go with Josh Hader. So Josh Hader was phenomenal to start the year. He actually tied the record for most consecutive appearances without giving up a run. But if you look at him recently, his most recent game, he gave up 6 earned runs in just a third of an inning. The game before that, 3 earned runs without recording an out. He's given up a run in 5 of his last 6 appearances. So for much of the season, he would have been nowhere near considered for this list, and there isn't a lot of viable candidates for Milwaukee, maybe a Freddie Peralta, but now his ERA has skyrocketed to 4.50 on the season. Let's just hope that was a minor blip, his recent play. For the Miami Marlins, we have Avisail Garcia. He signed a 4-year, $53 million deal in the offseason to join the Marlins. It has not been a good season, to say the least. He's batting .225, which is a .262 on base percentage, and a .317 slugging percentage, .579 OPS. That is 241 points less than the 820 OPS he had the previous season. And for the Minnesota Twins, I got Miguel Sano. Sano has actually played the least games out of anyone who made this. Appeared in just 17, but boy was he bad. So he had 5 hits in just he has 5 hits in just 54 at bats on the season. 1 homer, that's his only extra base hit. 21 strikeouts in the 54 at bats. So his numbers 0.93 batting average, 148 slugging percentage on the season. Sano hit 30 homers in 2021 and 34 in 2019.